Are you a new Mac user looking to use Keynote? Or maybe you're an older Mac user that's never actually touched Keynote, or maybe you want to install it for the first time. Or maybe you're one of those other computer users using that other presentation software. I'm just kidding. My name is Mike Prasad from learnhowtopresent.com, and I want to give you a brief introduction to Keynote for Mac. Now, I want to give you an overview of the interface. I want to walk you through some of the key settings, but I want to also give you some tips along the way. I don't want to just show you the nuts and bolts and how to click the menu items and how to create a presentation, but I want to actually show you some real advice that'll maybe help you with Keynote when you're working with and you're in front of your audience. Now guys, let's get some stuff out of the way first. A lot of people are under the impression that all I need to do is buy a Mac and use Keynote and I'm going to create this amazing presentation. And guys, nothing could be further from the truth. If somebody actually told you that, they're lying to you. Think about your presentation and think about all the skills that you need. Keynote is just another tool in your box, okay? You're going to have your speaking ability. What is your vocal quality like? What are your nonverbal cues like? What's your ability to use humor and to actually excite and engage your audience? I mean, all of these things have to work together. Keynote is just that mechanism. It's just that app that you're using today or tomorrow that's going to deliver the visuals, okay, the media, the audio in terms of actually what are they seeing on the screen. It's far more important for you to be focused on actually engaging with your audience. You don't want your audience just staring at the screen the whole time. You want them really focused on what you're saying and presenting to them. Again, think of when you go to a restaurant, you go out, you go to a nice restaurant with your significant other. Do you even care what's going on in the back room? I mean, really, do you even know or understand what's going on with the chefs in terms of, are they using a gas stove or an electric stove? Are they using wooden spoons or plastic spoons? Like, my God, I mean, who even cares? What do you care about? This is what you want to see. You want to be entertained. You want to be experiencing the smells, the tastes, the textures, the colors. I mean, look at this. This is what you care about. What happened in the back room to get it to this point is irrelevant. Nobody cares, right? It's just like when you go see or you watch a favorite sport on TV. No one knows what equipment they're using or what shoes they're wearing. That doesn't matter. What you're looking for is the performance of the presenter in this case. So one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that with all the stuff going on in the presentation room, people can't listen to you speak. Okay, you're up at the front of the room speaking. Hopefully they're looking to you, they're paying attention. But then you pop up a slide on the TV or the projector screen. They have to read that, they have to process that, and you have to expect them to retain everything. Not going to happen. Okay, so the best thing you can do is to keep it simple in terms of your slide design. Keep it really simple, keep it really clean. A lot of people are under the impression, do I have to have an amazing theme? Do I have to have this crazy design, these backgrounds, these colors? I mean, sure, no one's saying you can't have colors and colors to pop your presentation and design elements, design cues, things like that. When you think of the really great presentations, think about Apple's keynotes where Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, etc. They're actually using a built-in theme in Keynote. They're using the gradient theme with white text, some professional photos, obviously, and great copy, great words. But ultimately, they're using a very generic, very basic theme. And that, last time I checked, they're doing okay. This is a company that's doing $1 billion a day in sales. So they're using a built-in theme. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to it, but again, don't get too hung up on the actual design or the layout. As long as you keep it clean, keep it simple, convey one message per slide. Again, here's an example of a slide that has chaos, filled with information. How is your audience member going to look at this and process and understand what you're trying to show them? If you're wondering, the guy is hidden behind, there's a little lizard camouflaging behind here. But again, this just illustrates you want to make your slide really clear, keep it clean to help your audience members understand what you're trying to show them. Okay, guys, let's get into it. But before we do, just want to let you know, there's some users out there that love to use the keyboard, that they love to have both hands on the wheel at the same time, which is cool. There's a lot of cool keyboard shortcuts that you're going to learn within Keynote that are really going to help you out. If you're just starting out and you're just using the mouse and trackpad, that's fine too. Once you get into it, you're going to find certain menu items, certain keyboard shortcuts that you like, and then you can learn those, and that will help you out. I'll show, as we go into it, I'm going to show you a bit of both, but just know it's up to you. So first thing we want to do, we want to make sure you have Keynote installed and that you have the latest version. So to do that, take a look in your dock down here. Now I already have Keynote installed, obviously, so I'm good to go, but you may notice it here. If another way you can check your system, again, if you're on Mac, is to open up Spotlight. Spotlight is the built-in search mechanism within OS X. So to do that, hold down the Command key or press the space bar. So again, it's Command space bar will bring up Spotlight search. Or you can look in the top right-hand corner here, you see your magnifying glass. Again, that's your Spotlight search window. So either way, just enter in Keynote and see if it comes up as an application. You can see it's already installed here. Now, if you don't have it, no problem. Don't sweat, Apple makes it really easy. So just head up to the App Store, top left-hand corner, you're gonna see your Apple icon and hit the App Store. Open up the App Store, and in the search box, you just want to type in Keynote and hit return on your keyboard, and you should come back with Keynote as the first entry. Boom, there you go. So Keynote's the first entry. It's a productivity app, obviously, so we want to click on that guy. And again, you can see the brief introduction, you can read about it, etc. There's some key information down here on the right-hand corner. When it's last updated is key. You check the version information, the price, etc. Now, if you don't have it installed, it's going to say install right here. So go ahead, click install, download it to your system, follow the prompts, and it's super easy. It should only take you a few minutes. Okay, so now that we have Keynote installed, it should be in your dock. So we're going to go ahead and launch Keynote, and boom, right away, we get the theme chooser. So they want to jump in. They want you to start you off on the right foot. So some people love built-in themes. Some people hate them. It's whatever. So you have to decide what you want out of Keynote. And ultimately, eventually, as you get into Keynote and you become more familiar with the system, you're going to probably create your own themes. But if you're just starting out, go ahead, try them out and see what they're all about. You may want to build off of a built-in theme and take bits and pieces of it and make it your own. The themes are broken down into standard and wide. They're the exact same themes, but you can see they're just changed or just different in terms of dimension. So if you have a older TV, older projector, that sort of thing that you're showing on, you may want to choose the standard theme. Or if you have a widescreen projector, HDTV, that sort of thing, go ahead and choose wide. Don't get hung up on it. You can actually change that later. So I'm actually just going to click cancel. Now, what I want to show you first, and again, one thing you should know with all Mac apps is that you want to check the preferences out. So to open up the preferences window with Keynote highlighted here, you can go click on Keynote and then preferences, or again, if you like the shortcuts, hit command or hit the command key and spacebar at the same time to bring up your preferences. So let's go through the preferences, make sure you're all set up and ready to go. So the first tab is the general tab. So one thing you'll notice here, guys, right away is that Keynote is really simple. It's, you're not going to find 48,000 options to choose and which options do I have to click and set. Apple wants to get you going up and running as soon as they can. And again, it keeps it easy for you, keeps it simple. So let's walk you through here just to make sure you're set up correctly. So here you have your new documents. So as you see, when we launched Keynote for the first time, it prompted with the theme chooser. Now, if you're a company or maybe you've already created your theme, maybe somebody's already created a theme for you and you're going to be using that over and over and over, go ahead and choose use theme and just pick your theme that you're going to be using every time. That way, when you open it, boom, you're good to go. Next is editing. You typically want to have the first two checked off. This just helps you when you're placing lists and images. It will place images to fit automatically. Outline view, I typically don't use. I'll show you outline view in a second. Again, you can adjust the font size for that. Saving is important. You want to have this checked off. When you insert, you're going to be inserting files, you're going to be inserting videos, MP3 audio files, video files, that sort of thing. What this does, this actually packages all of those files within the Keynote file rather than linking to it. Okay, so if you ever created a document and you've linked to an external file, if you were to move that file or give it to somebody else, you've kind of lost that extra file. So you want to make sure this is checked off. Author here, this is cool. So why would you enter in this information? Again, it's for auditing purposes, I suppose. And it says this name here will appear when you insert comments. So if you're in an environment when you're working with a partner, your colleague, you're going to be working on a theme or a presentation over a number of days, enter in your name here. And when you insert a comment, it's going to show up as you. So if they have to blame anybody, they can blame you. So the next one here we want to look at is slideshow options. So let's take a look at the slideshows. So we want to have the first one checked off, scale to fit display. So again, when you connect your laptop to an external display, projector, HD monitor, that sort of thing, it's going to automatically fit and make itself look cool, look good for your external display. You want to enable presenter display. We'll get into that in a bit. Presenter display is the screen, typically your laptop screen, that's facing you on the lectern, let's say, that can have additional information. So it can have the next slide, it can have a timer, it can have your notes, and we'll get into that in a second. Interacting, we typically want to have the first one checked off or selected. We only want to show the pointer when we're clicking a link. You typically don't want to have the second one checked off because that just becomes distracting. You don't want to have your pointer moving around when you're actually moving the mouse. You want to have these ones checked off. Again, show playback controls if you have a movie. Allow mission control. This one's something you can try. Some people have luck with it. Some people don't. It's kind of hit or miss, but this allows you to use your screen or a secondary screen with certain apps. Exiting is one to note here. I typically leave this one cleared or unchecked. So when you hit the last slide, so your last slide, you want to have either a summary slide or a thank you slide, maybe some contact info. You want typically to have that as your last view or your last impression for your audience to look at. So I would try and leave that one unchecked. If you don't, what's going to happen actually, just to let you know, is that the presentation will exit and it's going to kick you back out to your desktop and showing you all of your cluttered desktop. So let's take a look at the next thing is rulers. Again, your ruler options pretty straightforward here. You can change the measurement unit if you like metric or imperial, I guess, for my American friends. And your alignment guides, you typically want to have all of these checked off here. And if you want to change the color to make it more apparent to you, maybe you have trouble seeing this color, you can click on that and select any one of these colors here that you like. I'll just stick with the default right now. So the next is remotes. Let's take a look at remotes. Remotes is cool. Once you have your presentation set, you're ready to go, you can actually connect your iPad, your iPhone to your laptop with a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection and walk around the room so you can control your laptop without having to be tethered to the lectern. And you can do that, and that's pretty cool as well, which we'll talk about probably in a separate video. So now that we have our preferences set, we're just going to close that, and I'm going to walk you through the menu now. Okay, great. So we have our preferences set and we set up our general preferences. And again, you can go in and customize those later if you wanted to by going to Keynote and then preferences. So let's open up a recent Keynote file that I had going. And this is the general Keynote window. When you first launch it, when you first create file new, this is the general interface. So again, across the top, what you have here is your main toolbar. So this is good. Again, if you're using the mouse or your trackpad, this is where you're going to want to live. And you'll notice it's kind of broken down into sections, and you'll notice there's some gaps here. You're like, Mike, why did Apple put all these gaps here for my toolbar? And what you can do here is actually customize this toolbar, which is one of the first things you'll probably want to do. Now, again, if you're just getting into Keynote and you're not too familiar with it, go ahead and you're going to use the menu items and you're going to be able to find most of your items there. But what you can do eventually is you can right click on the toolbar here in an empty space, and you have a couple options. You have icon and text, which will show obviously the icon and the text. You can go icon only. You can hide the toolbar completely if you really want to get crazy. And then if you want, what you can do is right click again and click customize toolbar. So boom, this is some gold here, guys. So again, you can really customize the interface to what suits your needs. So take a look through. I'm not going to go through all of these, but find the ones that you use most often, and you can drag them and drop them onto the toolbar where you'd like. So I personally like copy style. I use that quite a bit, and I use paste style quite a bit. And you can see it's auto adjusting, things like that. Maybe I want to have the print icon here, you know, and then you can, of course, you can drag and drop these. You can move them around how you like them. Now, don't worry if you mess something up, guys. You can always drag and drop the default toolbar here, and you can see it resets itself back to square one. So no need to worry about messing something up. You can't break it, guys. So go ahead, put the ones you like there, and go nuts. So I'm just going to add a couple there that I like, and I'm going to click done. Okay, so let's take a look at the interface here, starting from the left-hand side. So we have the main view interface right here. So there's 4 main views, 3 of them that you're going to probably use most of the time, and a few other ones. So let's start with Navigator. Navigator is the default view, and it's just basically a vertical column, lays out your slides in a logical vertical manner here. They're numbered, so you know the sequence. There's a couple things you can do. You can drag and drop these. Again, maybe you want to shuffle them around a bit like that. Maybe you want this one down here. You can do that. Let's say you want to add a new slide. You can say, you can right click here, say new slide, pops in a new slide there, boom. Again, if you want to delete that, you can delete it, that sort of thing. So again, really easy to use, and that's your Navigator view. There's the slide only view. The slide only view simply slides the Navigator out of the way, gives you just a nice clean look at the interface, and that way you're just dealing with the one slide. So I'm just going to go back to Navigator view. And the other main view is light table view. So now light table view actually comes from the photography days, or the film days, if you will. For those of you guys who remember film, we're all digital now, but in the film days, they used to lay down slides on a light table. And the reason for that, it's just easy to view, easy to sort. Come down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can adjust the size of the slide, again, depending on your monitor, your resolution, that sort of thing. But you get a nice clear picture of all of your slides nicely laid out. So one of the cool things you can do with the light table is to, again, drag and drop things into an arrangement that you like. So maybe you want to move this guy from here to here, and just to your heart's content. So why would you use this? When would you use this? Let's say you're just finalizing your presentation. You want to move and adjust some slides, maybe change the order up into a sequence that suits your presentation. Another key thing that you might want to use here is the ability to hide some slides. Why would you use this? So let's say you're giving a presentation, maybe it's an ad hoc presentation, and you have a lot of slides, maybe you have 50, 75, whatever number of slides, and they're really not relevant for your audience. So pick a few slides. Oops, let's go back there to light table. And what you can do is, if you hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and click sequential slides, which will select the slides in sequence, you selected them now. You could see that with the yellow outline around them, and just right click and say skip slide. And you notice it just grays it out slightly. So now when I go and play my presentation, it's going to cycle through just the slides that I selected, and it's not going to show the ones that I hid, which is really cool. And again, that's a quick and dirty way you want to keep your presentation relevant for your audience, right? You don't want to be showing them stuff that they don't need to see. And maybe in certain situations, you need to hide some slides. Again, once you're finished, just right click and say, don't skip slide, and they're going to come back. And then if I selected them all, I could select don't skip slide. So there they are. So let's come back to the view menu here up in the top top left. Outline view. Outline view is not something I use too much. You may not use it too much. It essentially tells you which slide numbers. So slide number 1 has some text. Slide 2 doesn't have text. Slide 3, there's no text. You can add text there if you want. Slide 4, etc. Some other things here, edit master slides. Your master slides, think of your master slide as your template, or your baseline. That's something, again, once you get into Keynote and you become more familiar with it, you probably want to customize a theme or create a theme that you can use. And that way you can just drag and drop items onto them. rather than using the default or built-in themes. There's show, find, and replace. Pretty straightforward. Obviously, you click it, you can find and replace some text. Maybe you want to replace a word with a different word, that sort of thing. You can use find and replace. You also have show rulers. Again, your guidelines for dragging and dropping things. Maybe you want to help line things up. You can toggle that on if Command and R. Again, if you're a keyboard user, you go ahead and use Command and R for that. Show off your keyboard skills, guys. And a couple other things, hide comments or insert comments. So hide comments relates to this button up here, which is your insert comments. So why would you want to insert comments? Again, if you're working with a teammate, a partner, a colleague, and you want to say a comment on this slide. So on this slide, there's no graphics. Maybe I want to say, look for a graphic for this slide, call Mary. Okay. So again, you'll notice it has my name right here and it has a date stamp, which is cool because again, just for auditing purposes, just to help you keep organized. Again, if you're working with multiple people, or even if you're just working with yourself, you get an idea and you want to jot it down. Just a note, when you play your presentation, the comments will not play. Again, this is just for you when you're in editing mode, and you can see we're in editing mode up top here. Okay. I'm actually just going to delete this comment. And presenter notes. Okay. So down here you have presenter notes. Presenter notes, pretty straightforward. So presenter notes are notes that are only for the presenter, obviously. So when you're in presenter display mode and your audience is seeing the main screen, this presenter display is something that only you'll see. So you can type here to your heart's content. Be careful with this one because you don't want to be typing too much. Again, that's going to tie you down to reading like a monotonous script, if you will. You're going to be tied to looking at the screen when you should be looking at your audience and engaging with your audience, right? You guys, you want to have engagement with your audience. You want them looking at you. You don't want them looking at the screen too much. So that's presenter show notes or show presenter notes. Okay, so we're going to just hide those for now. So let's go back to navigator view up here. Next is the zoom function. Pretty straightforward, guys. You can zoom in, zoom out to the heart's content here, fit window, that sort of thing, whatever you like. I personally like it a bit zoomed out just because I like to see the whole edge of my frame. Personal preference. This button here is add a slide. So again, you can right click down here and say a new slide, or you can click here and say add a slide here. Now note, I only have one slide here. Why is that? Well, I've created this theme with only one default slide. Now, if you're using or you're trying out that built-in theme, the default theme, you may have 6, 8, 10. They give you a lot of different slides. And what you'll notice is those slides have different placeholders, okay? They may have a placeholder for a picture or a block of text in a certain item, but I just want one slide. I'm pretty basic. I'm a pretty simple guy, so I just have the one slide there. Again, I added some buttons here. It's pretty straightforward. Here's the big guy here. This is the play presenter or play your slideshow. Pretty straightforward. One thing to note here, guys, is when you have a slide selected here and you click play, it's going to play from that slide. So please be sure you either start up here, okay, you select your first slide and click play, or if you're down here, and again, if you're a keyboard user, hold down your option key and click play, and it's going to start back at the beginning, even though I was selected way further down. So again, to start at the beginning of your slideshow, hold down the option key and click play, and you're good to go. Okay, guys, so next is your main middle screen here, which is your insert items for your charts, your tables, your text, that sort of thing, your shapes, your images, movies, videos, and your comments. So I won't dive in too much to the details of these big three, the tables, charts, and text. I'll probably cover that in another video, as well as your shapes. One thing to note here with your media. So if you're new to the OS X or Macs, that sort of thing, Apple typically likes to integrate things really tightly with regards to photos, music, and videos or movie files. So they want you to use the apps file, or the photo app for your photos, the iTunes app for your music and your movies in your movies folder. So if you don't have anything in these apps or in these locations, they're not going to show up here. So you're wondering, Mike, how do I, all I want to do is to insert a photo. How do I do it? So just go insert here on the menu, click choose. Okay. So they call it insert choose, or again, if you're a keyboard user, use Shift Command V. So it's Shift Command V, brings up my chooser window. And again, you can browse to your directories, select your file and then insert it and then just drop it in there. Boom. Again, comments, we talked about that. It's pretty straightforward. Just click insert comment anywhere you are. Just type in your comment. And we're just going to cancel there. Now here's your share button. Sharing, again, you've probably seen this again. If you have an iOS device, an iPad, an iPhone, that sort of thing, you're familiar with this button. You can send it to your mail, through your mail app, message, notes. If you have a YouTube account, a Facebook, that sort of thing, you just connect. It's going to ask you to connect to your account and you can enter information there. The help window or the tips button is here. Again, if you want to click that on, it gives you a few bubble tips here and there. Now, the main right or the far right column, this is the main window where you'll spend a lot of time. This is also called your inspector. Okay, so here is your formatting for your slide, your transitions, that sort of thing between slides, or your builds as they're called in Keynote, in terms of moving from an element to another. And also here you have your custom theme or your theme options and your slideshow options and things like that. Down here, again, we talked about that in the beginning, choosing your custom slide size, you can enter that in there, things like that. Again, I'll probably cover this deeper into another video just for the sake of time here. Okay, so let's just look through the menu items real quick. There's a few items just to touch on there. So again, we talked about the Keynote item. The file is pretty straightforward. Again, file, new, open, recent. Now, one thing to note, guys, again, I should have said this in the beginning, but whenever you start a new document, guys, I want to make sure that you click save. So please, when you open a new document, get into the habit of giving it a file name and saving it to a location that where you know is, okay? Try to be organized. You don't want to save it all over the place. So click file. Once you've opened your document, make sure you click save. Now, for those of you that are wondering, or maybe you didn't wonder, but there is save as. So you don't see it here by default, but if you hold down the option key, you'll see save as. Now, some of you may be wondering, why isn't there save as by default? Why does it say save in duplicate? So let me just show you that real quickly and what that means. When you click save as, so let's say, again, I have a file open, I've been working on it, or you've been working on your presentation, and again, the first thing I do, guys, is click file, save. So I gave it a name. Now let's say I want to save as. If I save as, so I hold down option key and save as. So again, obviously it asks me where I want to save it. And let's say I call this one version 2. And I'm going to keep it in my Keynote folder. You'll notice that what's going to happen, I click save. It's going to, obviously, I'm now working in save, or excuse me, version 2, right? But it's closed my other file that I had open, okay? So if I look here, there is my version 2, and there's my original one that I was working on. Now, the difference is, let me close that one, and let me, actually, let's delete that version 2 because I don't want that one anyway. Let's just go back and click that first one. Okay, so again, if I duplicate, what's the difference with duplicate? So if I hit duplicate, what it's going to do is it's going to open up a duplicate copy of the existing file. Now notice if I just drag this down here, the original file that I was working on is still in the background. So it's still there. And what Apple is kind of thinking here is that, you know, maybe you want to try something new. Maybe you want to get crazy and try some funky transition, add some colors, add whatever, do whatever you want to this file. It's just kind of like a temporary spare file. So just to note, this file is not actually saved, okay? You might think it's saved here because it's saying copy, but it is untitled. So again, if you look in my directory, it's just the one file, right? It's just my original file here. So what I have to do, if I do like this duplicate that I've just jumped out and I've made a change to it, make sure you highlight that window and make sure you click save. Again, you can call it copy, or I can call it whatever I want. Let's just call this one final for some reason, right? If I click enter, and you're going to notice there it is down here, you can see there's my final copy, and now I have both files open. Okay, so I'm just going to click close on that one. Let's just go back to the main one. So next, guys, in the edit menu, again, your typical edit menu, you can do things like cut, copy, paste style, that sort of thing. Find, let's say again, you're trying to find a word in your presentation that you want to replace. Dictation. So again, for those that are new to Mac or didn't know, there is a built-in dictation within OS X. I probably wouldn't use it in Keynote. Again, it's up to the individual, but typically not having a lot of text in a presentation is a good thing. So you're probably not going to have to go through the issue of having to dictate a lot of text in a Keynote presentation, but to each their own. Insert menu here, guys. On the insert menu, pretty straightforward. This relates pretty much an almost one-for-one for this your middle section here with regards to your options to insert charts, text, slides, or objects, that sort of thing. On the slide menu here, pretty straightforward. Again, new slide, pretty basic. Format, again, font, again, but this actually relates more to the inspector. So again, this format relates to this section over here, which is your inspector. Again, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. Arrange objects, again, that relates more to your inspector, but again, if you like the menu items, go ahead and use here. View. So again, so in your view, this, again, you guys, you see what you're noticing here is a lot of duplication. Again, everyone likes to, cook their steak a different way. Hopefully you guys are meat eaters because I love steak. But again, you can use the view options here. Again, it relates to navigator, slide, light table. Again, we covered that, which is actually over here, right? So again, if you further down, again, you can customize toolbar, that sort of thing. Again, your build order, your arrange tools, your color adjust, these are all actually over here in your inspector as well once you highlight the slide. Play, pretty important again. So if you like the menus, just click play slideshow. What you'll see down here is customize your presenter display. So remember we talked about this. Your presenter display is your display that's facing you, where you can add or show your notes. You can show the next slide that's upcoming. You can have a timer, that sort of thing. You can have a countdown, that sort of thing, depending on what you like. Share, again, this relates to the share button right here, pretty straightforward. Window, again, you can minimize your windows, that sort of thing, adjust your zoom, and the help button. So again, search button is pretty helpful. Again, if you're just starting out, go ahead and use the search button. It is context sensitive or contextual. So if you type in an option, let's say save, I guess, you can actually see here, it says menu items, and you'll notice on the left side of my screen, it's pointing to that item. So I can do one of two things. I can actually go over here and click the button that is telling me, it's screaming at me, click this button, or you can just click the item here and it's going to do that function as well, right? So if I click save as here, it's going to bring up the save as box. So go ahead, use this help menu. It's pretty helpful if you're just getting into Keynote. One thing here I will show you in the help section is the shortcuts. Again, if you like keyboard shortcuts like me, it shows you your Mac commands or your main, these are your main Mac modifier commands. So again, if you're just getting into the Mac system, you want to make sure that you know these are your core command keys or alternate keys, if you will. Command, Shift, and Option are the big ones. And click here for the keyboard Mac shortcuts, or I should say Keynote for Mac shortcuts, right? So guys, this is gold right here, guys. Look at all these shortcuts. I mean, you guys are probably going nuts if you're a keyboard user. The main ones are, if you scroll down here, that you'll use most often are play a presenter, or when you're in a presenter, when you're in presenter mode. There's a lot of cool ones here, which I'll show you in a second. So if you wanted to print those out, what I would suggest, again, open that up, click the share button here, and you can print that to your printer if you have one hooked up, or you can save it as PDF right down here, which is cool too if you want to keep it on your tablet, that sort of thing. Now guys, as I said, when you're showing a presentation, you don't want your audience looking at the screen the entire time. So one thing you may do, you're firing through your slides, that sort of thing, you're moving along, and let's say you want to bring things back, you want to bring the focus back to you as a presenter, go ahead and click the B key. The B key blacks out the screen. Again, you want to bring the focus, bring the audience back to you. You can just toggle the B key. Again, it just blacks out the screen. Or if you like the background, you can go ahead and hit the W key for white, and it just brings up the white background. Again, an easy, quick way to bring focus back to you. Let's say you're showing an item and you want to have the mouse show. Just hit the C key. C is for cursor, obviously, and it brings up your cursor, so you can highlight an item. You can maybe you have a diagram or something that you want to show people, and you can actually use your C key to show the cursor. If you want to pause your presentation, let's say, for example, you have a transition or it's running by itself on auto, that sort of thing. If you want to pause the presentation, you just hit the F key. That just pauses the presentation. So guys, one last quick tip I want to leave you with, and I hope it's going to help during your presentations, is you're going to be having those presentations where you're firing along, everything's working well, you're feeling good, and boom, somebody puts up their hand and says, can you go back to that slide you had way back whenever on that chart or something? And what you'll see a lot of people do is they'll try and fire back, they'll hit the back key, or they'll exit out of their presentation all completely. And they're showing, again, your audience is seeing this, okay? So you're clicking around, you're trying to find it. One thing I want you to try out. So again, you're in your presentation, you're firing along, just hit the plus key on your keyboard. Brings up the slide switcher, or slide chooser, whichever you like to call it. So slide switcher. So just the plus key on your keyboard brings that up. Again, you can see, boom, there's the slide I want to go to. I just click it and there it is. And just mouse over and I'm good to go. So again, question comes up, can you go back to that slide and show me that chart? Just hit plus key to bring up the slide. And again, if you know the actual slide number, you can look down quickly, just type it in the top left-hand corner here, say, yep, we want to go back to slide number 2 and look at that chart. Just enter number 2 and hit enter on your return on your keyboard. And there you go, takes you right back to it. So guys, one last thing I want to leave you with is a couple of web pages that are from Apple. These are just Keynote pages that are officially from Apple. This one here is just a general overview of Keynote. This one here is the nuts and bolts of Keynote. Again, its main features. If you're looking for a specific feature, again, if you're new to PowerPoint, did I just say PowerPoint? Oh my God. Keynote. Okay, we're using Keynote. If you're new to Keynote, or if you're looking for a specific function in Keynote, you may find it down here. And here is a pretty good one too, in terms of compatibility. So if you are using PowerPoint with another colleague, or maybe that colleague only unfortunately has a Windows computer with PowerPoint on it, you can look through here just to make sure that the functionality or the transitions, the objects that you're placing into Keynote will play nicely with PowerPoint. Again, they're trying to work on the compatibility between systems, but definitely take a look here. Again, not the ideal situation to be exporting as Keynote or exporting as PowerPoint, excuse me. But you can look through here and see if that works for you. So that's it for now, guys. I hope that helped out. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe. I'm going to be pumping out a lot of Keynote videos for you, and I hope you enjoy them, and I hope that helps you. Take care, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.